I decided to go through and do a review on this fantastic bass. This is the Ibanez BTB 686SC. If any of you ever followed me in terms of actually bass playing, even though most of my stuff is guitar playing, most of the basses I have owned have been Warwicks. I've owned a Corvette 5, I've owned a couple jazz basses, which isn't Warwick, but I've owned a Corvette 5, a thumb 4-string bolt-on, thumb 5-string neck through. I recently bought a BTB 6-string as well. It was a lower end model, like a 300 series bolt-on. It's pretty decent. But I saw this, I've always had an affinity for single cut basses, the huge upper wing. I think it's gorgeous. So when I saw Ibanez put this out, I started getting a hankering for it, and recently all the stars aligned, and I went through and purchased this beauty. I guess let's start with the boring stuff. This is a 35-inch scale, which I'm a big fan of. I like longer scale basses and guitars. Most of my guitars are 27-inch, so I like a little longer of a scale. It just seems, I like higher tension for some reason. It's got a rosewood fretboard. The neck is maple with Babinga stripes in it. You've got swamp ash wings on this bad boy and a rosewood top. Some of the more particular stuff. You've got Bartley BH16 pickups. Some of the most clear pickups I've ever heard. Very beautiful, very mid-range focused. And for me, especially when it comes to bass playing, I'm a very mid-range guy, which is another reason I really like this bass. You've got the monorail bridge, which I like, where each one is on its own individual. Essentially, it's its own little individual single-string bridge, which is another thing I'm a big fan of. Active electronics, as you'd expect. This cutout is something pretty amazing. The actual cutout on this thing is pretty deep, but it actually maintains it to be extremely comfortable playing up the neck. There is zero, you barely even notice it going up. I mean, if you've got proper technique where you're supposed to keep your thumb behind, you don't even notice the thing. Even if you're somebody that likes to wrap around, first of all, it's a very wide neck, so you don't have to worry about wrapping it around. But coming up, it's just extremely comfortable all the way up the neck. Full access. Everything on it, craftsmanship-wise, is phenomenal. Very comfortable in every aspect. It's a little bit butt-heavy. If you're on a strap, it does tend to sink down a little bit on the body side, but that's fairly expected on a single-cut bass of this size. It is very large, that is the one thing. I'm not a very large man, so this bass is a little big on me, but it is extremely comfortable. Yeah, I don't mind at all. Electronics. Something interesting about the electronics. You've got volume, pickup blender, fairly normal. Then you've got a 3-band EQ. You've got your bass, boost or cut, mid, boost or cut, and then you've got a treble booster cut, and then you've got this cute little switch down here. As I mentioned with bass, I'm a big mid-range fan, and one of the reasons I love this bass is with your mid-range control, not only do you have a mid-range boost, but you get to choose where that cue comes from, what actual frequency you're choosing. So when it's down, you're at 600 hertz, and when it's up, you're at 250 hertz. I personally tend to use it down. I like how it sounds. I like how it sounds focusing on the around the 600 hertz area. But I guess what we'll do is I'll run through and do some little sound tests on it. Go through it just straight flat EQ and so on and so forth. One more thing I will point out before I get onto this. The string spacing on this bass is phenomenal. It's an extremely flat radius fretboard, I just checked, the radius is 950 millimeters, which equates to roughly 37 inches, which is a ridiculously flat radius, which I love. I wish I could find a guitar with that kind of radius on it, but sadly I have to just go with 20 inch. But between having an extremely flat radius and the string spacing, one thing I've always had an issue with, especially with 6-string basses, I know particularly the Yamaha John Mayung basses that they made, at least for me, I felt like the string spacing was so tight that if you did any slap stuff, you couldn't really get in between the strings, you know, unless you were on like one of the top strings, you were kind of screwed there. This bass lets you get right underneath every single one of the strings, which is pretty amazing. So you can do slap lines fairly easily. Even if you're used to playing a 4-string, you don't have to adjust too much, which is pretty nice. But let's get on to the sound clips. I'll go through everything with the actual controls and all that stuff and EQ. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll go through flat EQ, then I'll boost the bass all the way up, take it down, do the mid all the way up, then I'll let you hear the difference in the switch when you focus where the mid is, and then same thing with the treble. Let's see what we get. I'll do each one as a finger style, and then a slap I'll just do the same riff just so you get a consistent idea. So this first one, this is just flat EQ. I do have the switch down at the moment, so it's at 600 hertz. Same riff, slap, flat EQ. Finger style with the bass cranked. Slap, bass cranked. Finger style with mid-range cranked, switch down to 600 hertz. Slap with the mid-range cranked and the EQ switch down to 600 hertz. Finger style with the mid-range cranked switches up at 250 hertz. Slap, mid-range is cranked, EQ switches at 250. Treble cranked, and I've still got the switch up at 250. Slap with the treble cranked and switch is still at 250. Well, I hope this helped some of you guys out. Any of you guys had questions about this bass or maybe what it sounded like in particular. I am extremely happy with this bass. I can't tell you the last time I've been this excited. And I've never really been a 6-string bass player despite my extended range guitardom. But I'm definitely comfortable with this. I don't see myself getting a different bass for quite some time. Once again, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions about this, feel free to hit me up either on YouTube, Facebook, AskFM, Instagram, any of that stuff. Feel free to hit me up. But thank you very much for watching, guys.